constantly throughout the Bible, people are told to celebrate and remember the things that God has done amongst them, both in their history and in their own lives. There's a psalm, a spiritual song called Psalm 66, the 66th spiritual song that we have recorded in our Bibles. It's written by who knows who, some anonymous writer, and it's definitely one which celebrates the things that God has done in that person's life. They've definitely been through a really hard time, and now that hard time is over. It could well have been written in a time called the exile, when the people of Israel were taken by a foreign army and they were taken away. Their temple was trashed, their land was trashed, and the people were ransacked and they were taken from where they lived into captivity. A lot of stuff was written during that time. It's so important to remember that life is full of testing times like this. Some of them are like a horrific moment. Some of them are months of difficulty. Some of them can be generations of testing. But the people of God have to learn to look backwards as well as what's happening now. When we look backwards and we see God's track record in our life and in the lives of the nations around us, we see something different. We see a God who's always been there. And even during the hard times, He's put in place the right people or the right money. He's provided for us. He's given us strength when we thought there was no strength left. And when we look back, we can see that God was there. This is sticky. This is the way that I personally remember the things that God has done for me in my life. Each symbol or word or date is a thing that God's done where I know that was God who did something for me, or I was involved in God doing something in the lives of other people. He's spoken, He's provided, He's healed, He's helped, He's restored. And in my own times of darkness, I can take hold of this stick, literally hold something in my hand, which is an example of God's faithfulness to me. And I can look to the future with a stronger sense of God's hope for me. As I read my own rewording of Psalm 66, take a moment and ask God to bring to mind for you some story of His faithfulness to you. And ask yourself the question, is there somebody that I can share this story with? And if you get to the end of that and you think, I've got nothing, I've got no stories, I can't think of a single time when I can look back and I can say that God's honestly been there, then maybe contact someone who is a Christian or someone who's got a story you know, and ask them if they can share something with you of God's faithfulness to them. Every mouth mouth on earth, shout respect and thanks to God, and sing about how His name gleams with light. Tell it out everywhere, in every way. God is radiant. Then turn and tell God, the things you do fill me with awe, and all that is anti-God simply cowers before your power. One day everything will worship you, God. One day it will all sing these songs. One day the cosmos will be filled with nothing but shouts to you. Come and see what God has done. Come closer and look at the incredible miracles He's done. He freed a whole nation from slavery and even parted a whole sea, allowing them to cross on dry land. We, God's people, rejoiced with God on the other side. And still now He's King, Prime Minister, President, and servant. He watches every movement of every nation. And when rebels rise in defiance, He is not without power. So, let the entire earth live to bless God and sing our love and thanks at the top of our voices. He's got the whole world in His hands. He's got the whole world in His hands. We won't be tripped up by life with God watching and acting. Yes, it's true that God tests us. We enter fire like silver enters fire, to be purified. Sometimes we are caught up in webs. Sometimes we do feel trapped. Sometimes there are no good choices left to make. Sometimes it's all too much to carry. But remember our history. Moses was placed over us all and led us out into freedom. The place that we will end up is just as abundant, if not more. So now I come to worship you, God. I bring you everything right here and now. I give you the best of my time, the best of my money, the best of my gifts and my mind and my strength, all for you. You deserve it all, no matter my circumstances. Close, everyone, and listen. Anyone who wants to know God, and I will tell you story after story after story of what God has done. Every time I cry out to Him for help, with my heart attitude of worship, my internal compass pointing to God, He hears me. I know He hears my heart's cry. He hears beyond my words and knows beyond my vision. Celebrate and worship God because He never ignores, He never takes away His presence or love from us, and He never will. He is right here. He is God. Whatever it is that you're going through, remember, God hears the cry of the broken. He hears and He acts. It's so important to remember that.